there's no tough guy industries. These guys are human. These guys are men. They feel pain. They feel hurt. They have heartaches. They deal with, like we said earlier, the mental health challenges. But they say, how many of you believe in zero harm? AEP is 100% behind zero harm. And I'd drop my head and drop my eyes. I'm like, how am I supposed to believe in zero harm when there's going to be some harm? I'm a faithful Christian man. Things had to happen. Jesus had to die. My sons had to get hurt for me to be sitting here talking to you. No one should have to sacrifice their life for their livelihood, because a nation built on the dignity of hard work must provide safe working conditions for its people. We got Arch. Everyone wanted to call him a flop at the beginning of the year, but he ended up having a great season. He's going to be a tremendous player.
Disclaimer, the views are the guests alone, not those of the host or sponsors.
Going back to the beautiful journey at Bobcat Power. So you got started, it's humbling, something new. You had to learn again from the ground up. And, obviously you set the program up, right? And how did you get to 2020, right? 2020, you guys win AAP's award, safety award, which is really hard, right? And 2020 is the year of the pandemic. So I'm assuming that might have been doubly hard just because of the nature of how the world worked back then. So walk us through that.
So I think I took over the safety program in around 2016. So like I told you, I started out as a project manager 14 and 15. I did that for a couple of years. And so, knew nothing, worst at what I did, ground level, very humbling. And then Scotty threw me another curveball. Came in, hey, I've always pegged you as being a safety guy. You care about people. You have a heart for people. You're a great trainer. You're a great coach. You're a great motivator. You're a great encourager. I've always seen you in this role, but, you needed to learn the industry. You need to learn the work. And that's what you've done for the last 2 years. So he asked me to take over the safety and health program. And I was reluctant at first.
Let me ask you this now, if I can pause you there. Was there anybody before you doing that, or is it a brand new role?
There were two people in that role. When I went to Bobcat, there was a guy in place. And then about a year into that, we replaced him and replaced that spot internally with another guy. And he was in that role for approximately a year. And then I took over after that. So we had two guys prior to me that I know of.
Got it. Okay.
And just kind of lukewarm, just not real connections with the guys. And when I first got in,
just checking the health and safety box is a good way to put it.
Yeah, checking the box. We were good. We were safe. And
then you simply say, safety first.
Yeah.
Rah, rah, rah.
Safety first. Yeah, then here comes
not doing anything.
Then here comes Mick Saban, throwing the straw hats and pounding the whiteboards, and
no process, nothing. There is an 800-page safety manual, and somebody does something unsafe. All that he says, you shouldn't have done that.
Right? Exactly. Very process driven. Look into the whys on why this is happening, or let's just tend to the fundamental. It's fundamentals. It's coach. It's like coaching. It's you teach fundamentals. We're going to do the fundamental things every day. Observations, audits, inspections, have the conversation with God, toolbox talks. Day ones, we kick off a job.
Well, let's talk about the fundamentals, if you will, right? Because then honestly, that is the most important piece of anything in life, right? You got to get the fundamentals, right? So from a health and safety perspective, what are the basic things that you wouldn't compromise on, that you didn't compromise when you set up the program? Or if you were to set it up today, right? It's a better way to put it, because you got 10 years into it, right? So what are the basic absolute fundamentals?
We've got a really good way of with our safety management platform of the guy, this foreman, the superintendent, the site leaders of leading their crews and documenting meetings, audits, inspections, um, equipment inspections, day one forms, all the aspects that go into it. Well, we were ahead of our time on that. I really believe from a safety management platform standpoint, we were way ahead of our time. And um, we asked them to do this daily and this weekly, making sure that they were doing this daily and these things weekly, and going back and verifying those things, um, and holding them accountable, and identifying the guys that were doing it and identifying the guys that weren't doing it. So it came back to accountability and making sure the guys were doing the fundamental things that we asked them to do daily and weekly. So having zero tolerance for that, really pushing that, really having a belief system that, and then selling that belief system. Say observations. Our observation program is top notch. We're way ahead of the industry, and we have been for a number of years. And like I've always said, is trying to define everything we do. Well, then, so in our industry, you've got good catches, you've got near misses, you've got incidences, and no one could define that for me when I started. It was confusing. So I had to define it for myself. I had to understand it myself. And then once I understood, I could get it across to the guys and explain it to them. So our good catch program and within our observation program is a great example. We have observations daily that we do by our site foremen, site supervisors, safety people in the field. And these observations are either positive in nature or negative in nature. What makes them positive is it's a safe act or safe condition that they see. And then they do an observation on it. Or it's an unsafe act or unsafe condition that they see, and they do an observation on that. If it's an unsafe act, unsafe condition, which constitutes a negative type observation, that is a good catch because we are seeing an unsafe act or an unsafe condition. We're stating that. We're stopping the work. We're correcting it before any energy is released. That is our good catch program, and it's built within the observation program. So those are leading indicators. We early on we became a big leading indicator company instead of lagging indicators based on incidences and OSHA rates and EMR rates and all that. We tried to be more leading indicator driven, again, more process driven. If
Yeah.
we can see these things on a daily basis, good or bad, then we can develop some trends and develop some topics for conversation and open communication and transparency to deal with it. And no observation, good or bad, no observation, positive or negative, no good catch, no matter how serious of a crime it might have been for it to actually be out there, could be punishable. We had a zero
Non-punitive.
non-punitive, 100%. No one was getting in trouble. No one was getting fired. No one was getting docked. No one was getting suspended for anything that they turned in.
So
In our
you created a culture of open communication, where instead of
yes,
employees hiding things from you, they're going to
yes,
share things with you and the rest of the company, right? Because if a mistake happens or if an incident happens somewhere, let's say Waco, it's going to happen in West Texas. It's only a matter of time. And
yeah,
so what you wanted to do was, instead of them kind of pushing it under the rug, you really wanted that to be open out there, talked about. And hey, if I made a mistake, hey, I did this, watch out for this, right? That's
yeah,
the culture you were trying to promote, right?
yes. A transparent culture, which we're a reporting culture. Doesn't matter. We're going to report it. No one's getting in trouble. Non-punitive. We're going to be able to learn from each other because part of this in the observation or good catch, besides stating the unsafe act or condition they saw and stopping the work and correcting it before any energy was released, they also had to have a picture. A picture was attached to this observation and reporting mechanism that we have within our platform. So we were able to, off that picture is so important because we're able to teach and train from that picture to the entire company. If you just got words and say, we saw a guy exposed to a leading edge of an open hole, and yeah, we stopped work, we got it corrected. It's just words. You can let the whole company know about that, but it doesn't get their attention. You show them a picture of a guy standing next to an open hole, exposed to it, and they can see the picture, then we can train the entire company. And we do that primarily in a number of different ways: quarterly training, uh, weekly safety meetings, but primarily through our win calls on Wednesday. WIN. It's what's important now. We do it every Wednesday at 4:09 p.m.
Why is it 4:09?
4:09 p.m. Well, so again, everything we do, we're trying to sell a belief system, sell a culture, right? And so the old coach in me comes out. I've got to get this across to these guys, importance of good catches and observations and everything else that we're trying to cover. So our weekly win call at 4:09, and we know in this industry, brother's keeper is a big term, right? We want to be our brother's keeper, and we want to have those peer checks, human performance, and the brother's keeper concept is gigantic in the construction industry. So I did some research and went back and I'm reading, and Genesis 4:9 in the Bible is when God confronted Cain and asked Cain, "Hey, where's your brother Abel?" And Cain had already killed his brother Abel. And Cain said in Genesis 4:9, said, "Am I my brother's keeper?" So I'm like, brother's keeper, Genesis 4:9. So we do our win call at 4:09 p.m. every single Wednesday.
Interesting.
And we call it our win call. So it further sells brother's keeper, and it further sells our message that we preach every single Wednesday. There's 2 or 3 things we discuss every Wednesday. Simple belief systems that we have at Bobcat. And then we get into good catches, observations, hot topics, customer safety alerts, whatever it may be.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Interesting. I've never heard the 4:09 before, but appreciate you sharing that. So let's go to leading and lagging indicators, right? Uh, help the listeners understand a little bit about what those mean. What are some of the metrics you track? Obviously, leading, I'm assuming, hey, number of people who are attending safety meetings regularly. That's a leading indicator, right? Lagging indicator is probably, hey, you know what? You got a number of safety incidents increasing or something like that. Can you explain that a little bit at a high level?
Yes. Leading indicators are what you identify ahead of time before any energy is released. We talk a lot about, okay, here's your release of energy. Where are you? Which side of this are you on? If you're on this side before the energy is released, that's more leading. If you're on this side, now you're lagging. Your energy now has been released, and that's what we're trying to control in our industry is the release of energy. We know that energy may be released, but if we're prepared for that, then we got a plan in place. But if we're not prepared for that and it happens, then someone's going to get hurt because energy causes harm. More energy causes more harm. So it's all about the release of energy and controlling that. But we want to be on this side of it where we're identifying things, we're seeing things prior to the release of energy, such as these observations, whether they're good or bad. Because remember, if it's a positive observation, we're seeing a safe act, a safe condition on a job site. We're seeing, okay, guys are working in the air. We got our drop zone barricaded. Guys are tied off. They've got fall protection. Boom, we snap a picture of it. Guys are tied off, drop zones barricaded, positive observation. Or we could observe the same type of work and see guys not tied off in the basket. We don't have our drop zone barricaded. Our barricade's not in place. So now I can do an observation on this, snap a picture of it, state that we may not have fall protection in place, or state that we're not barricaded with our drop zone in line of fire, state that I stopped the work, state that I made the guy tie off, state that I got the drop zone barricaded, and then we go back to work. No energy was released. No one fell. No tool fell. No guy on the ground got hit by a tool. Nothing happened. We're leading. We're ahead of any release of energy. Lagging is energy's released. We've had an event. We've had either property damage or we've had injury. Something got damaged, something got broke, or someone got hurt. That's a lagging indicator. It's after the release of energy, and now we're at the mercy of luck. We're at the mercy of maybe some capacity to determine how bad that property damage was or that injury was.
Got it. Got it. So anything, I mean, another way to put it is you put it so eloquently, but the other way to put it would be, you have a set of processes in place, a number of observations coming in, number of people attending your 409 meetings, number of people attending, submitting good catches and things like that. Or if they're trending downwards, that's a problem that could that's a leading indicator that could potentially cause an issue on the lagging indicator, which
Correct.
is essentially, hey, you know what, you have a vehicle accident, or you have out there incident out there in the field, things like that, right? So is that another way to
Yes.
do the same thing? Okay.
Yes, because we may have, I go through the observations from the week and primarily looking at the negative observations because those are the ones where we're seeing an unsafe active condition. We're stopping the work. We're getting it corrected. Those are good catches. I'm primarily focused on those. And we may have a trend of 8, 10, 12 of them come in where there's a barricading problem with guys up in the air doing work and we're not barricading our drop zone. So that's a trend that we're seeing. So I'm going to make sure that I emphasize that on this wind call. And I'm
Yeah.
going to emphasize these good catches on this wind call because this is a leading indicator. We don't just have one of these observations. We've got 6, 8, 10, 12 of these. So we're ahead of it right now. Let's stay ahead of it. Let's get this corrected. Let's get ourselves barricaded below our aerial work so we don't have to deal with a lagging indicator, someone getting hurt.
Got it. Got it. So, Coach, we have a lot more to talk, right? I'm looking at the clock. We have 2 minutes left in our slotted time. We can keep going, or we can kind of come back in a few weeks and do this again. What do you want to do?
I'm good. Let's keep going.
Okay, perfect. All right, good. This is good stuff, right? So really good discussion. So you win this award in 2020, right? Incredibly proud achievement. So walk us through that, if you will. How'd you feel? I mean,
I
it's
feel
like
great.
winning a national championship. How does it compare to 2003? Compare the two.
Yeah, it maybe not quite as sweet. A state championship was, a long-term goal, childhood goal of mine. It's the quintessential ultimate in Texas high school football. To be a champion in this state is hard, and so not quite as high, but very rewarding. It was a reward we wanted. Scotty wanted it. He wanted to win it. He wanted to win it for a number of years. But again, you can't say I want to win the AEP Safety Award. I want to win the AEP Safety Award. I wake up every day wanting to win. You wake up every day and you do your observations and your good catches and your audits and your inspections. And again, it goes back to the process. Do these things, and the AEP Safety Award is just a byproduct of all that other stuff that we do daily and weekly.
Yeah, I mean, especially. Listen, obviously, I work AP. I've been working with AP since 2009, so I have a really good appreciation for how hard it is to win. And who was the managing director of construction back then? Is it Nathan Ball, or was it
Nathan? I believe was then. Yes.
Yeah. No, it's incredibly hard. Obviously, congratulations. So, you guys won it again, 2023, 2025, 2023, I was there watching
Yeah.
your acceptance speech, and you also had a discussion. So that is really good stuff there. So let's kind of connect now football and safety, right? Which you've done throughout your career, right?
Mhm.
In football, you know, the players will know if a coach really cares about them, right?
Mhm.
I mean, same thing applies in business as well, right? If you know, most people know if somebody's just blowing smoke up their skirt or if they're really caring about them and whatnot. It's especially true in the health and safety industry, right? Like I said earlier, there's a lot of rah health and safety guys out there. It's like safety first, but really don't put in the effort to get there, right? One of the reasons I really wanted to hire you was I know you were putting in the hard yards, if you will, uh, to help your employees get there, right? How do you make sure your employees know you have their back, right? While still holding on to the rules, accountability, expectations and things like that that you that are you can't compromise on.
Yeah, just let them know you care about them. I mean, caring is one of the most important qualities that we can have, and you share that with. I said it a while ago. I let our guys know I'm praying for them daily, praying for their working and traveling safety. Um, just let them know that they're my heroes, acknowledging them working on the road, acknowledging them being away from their families, acknowledging the fact that they're doing things different and more difficult, but just caring about them, loving on them. And that's not a term that's used much in this industry, but loving on them and caring on them. You know, they can put up a facade all they want. I thought I was coming into a tough guy industry, and there's no tough guy industries. These guys are human. These guys are men. They feel pain. They feel hurt. They have heartaches. They deal with, like we said earlier, the mental health challenges. But just having good, open, honest communication, let them know that we care about them, um, praying for them daily, and just being real with them, being authentic, and having some things in place um, that they know that we're authentic and we're coming from a place of true vulnerability, and we appreciate them, we respect them, and I always respect them from the standpoint of we want to catch them doing things right, not necessarily catch them doing things wrong. That's where the safety, I think, culture has improved for the good over the last few years. Is that this safety cop mentality is not out there. And that's one thing I told Scott early on. I was like, when he asked me to become the safety guy and head of safety, I'm like, Scott, I can't be that guy. I
Yeah.
can't be that guy when the safety guy rolls up and here comes the safety guy.
Yeah.
Let's get our stuff
You're the
together.
cop.
The safety cop. Yeah, the safety cop and being the guy that maybe the ops guys, the field hands don't truly respect for whatever reason. I said, I can't be that guy. It's not going to work. If I'm that guy and I feel like I'm that guy, I'm walking. I'm done. It's over. So just know that. And so it never was that way. I treat the guys with respect.
Yeah.
Try to catch them doing things right. Let them know we care about them. Um, the wind calls. Zero harm is a huge factor that we sell. Zero harm for us is a belief system that AEP, and we've heard in this industry for a number of years, but I couldn't believe it. We'd be there and they'd say, "How many of you believe in zero harm?" AEP is 100% behind zero harm, and I'd drop my head and drop my eyes. And I'm like, how am I supposed to believe in zero harm when there's going to be some harm? And in my world, if you say something, it's got to be realistic. And to me, zero harm is not realistic. So I had to put a definition behind it that I could believe in because, like I said earlier, if I can't believe it, I can't sell it and preach it to my guys and get them to believe it. So I had to come up with something I believe in. So zero harm for us is everyone goes home every day with life, limbs, and livelihood intact. Should I expect you to go home? We're sitting in a meeting. Should I expect you to go home with your life? Yes, sir. I think everybody can agree to that. Should I expect you to go home with all your limbs, which also include your eyes? Yes. Should I expect you to go home today with your livelihood? Yes. And then we get to have the livelihood pieces where we get a chance to have a conversation. We get to find out what makes Hari tick, what makes Bryan tick, what lights our fire, what's our hobby, what's our passion? Is it golf? Is it fishing? Is it hunting? Is it cooking? Is it traveling? What is it rodeo? I mean, we come across all kinds of stuff, through new hire orientation. When we have these conversations with these guys face to face during new hire, which
So
also
you get to know the person.
yes, that's also separates us. Also, is our new hire orientation. It's still face to face. It's 3 days, face to face. We don't put a computer in front of them and tell them to knock this out. It's face to face.
Check the boxes.
Check the box. Yeah, yeah. So zero harm is a big piece of. That's one of the things we cover every Wednesday on our win call. Every single Wednesday, we define zero harm. Everyone goes home every day with life, limbs, and livelihood intact. And then again, we get a chance to have our true, open, honest, vulnerable conversation about livelihood and get to know people and get to know what makes them tick.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, we've talked a lot about your achievements, which are honestly a lot, right? What is the one setback in your career that you may not have shared so far in the show and you want to share now, and something you've learned and you want to share with others?
That's a tough. From a coaching standpoint, it was the story I told you earlier about my sons. My son's injuries, it set my coaching career back. It really, but that was the plan, and I didn't know it at the time, but looking back on it now, that happened for a reason because I would not be here. I would not be sitting here if my sons would have been healthy, went on to have all state careers, team have tremendous success. I would have either been there or moved on to the next thing or moved on to college or kept climbing that ladder in football. So it was a setback because it was a major, major hurt and disappointment and that pain that we talked about earlier. But I don't really view it as a setback. It was part of my plan, God's plan for my life, and that's the reason I'm here now. And that
Yeah.
had
And,
Hari, that had to happen. You know how we talk about things in life have to happen. I'm a faithful Christian man. Things had to happen. In my Jesus had to die. My sons had to get hurt for me to be sitting here talking to you.
yeah, no,
They
fair.
had to.
It's a really good way to look at life in general, right? Because everything happens for a reason. So, um, advice for young people, right? You got all these data centers, AI, driving all these energy security issues, reliability, resiliency issues, and of course affordability. Right? It's in discussions all the time where utility rates are going up because of so many different factors coming into play. Right? So there's a demand. All this creates the demand for linemen in the community, demand for construction workers in the line trade. Right? What is the advice you would give for young people? That's number one. Is from a health and safety standpoint. Two questions here, right? From health and safety standpoint, is there a concern that you have? Because when there is such a demand, reshoring of manufacturing, data centers coming up, going electricity demand going up, right? Are people moving up the ladder too quickly? Are GFs ready? General foremans, are they ready to be GFs? Are they ready to command the crew out there? So two questions. Advise for young people. and your concern with this booming industry?
Yeah, advising young people, there's a lot there because it's kind of the old school approach is work ethic. Is it there? Is it not there? We always have said success is spelled WORK. Success is not spelled SUCCESS. It's spelled WORK. You have to have that strong work ethic. Um, the delayed gratification thing that you talked about earlier, I think is the young people today, they don't have that really from what I see. They want it now. They want the toys, they want the stuff, they want the big house, they want the big truck, they want the vacations, they want it now. And, you know, I didn't have that. We delayed so many gratifications. We budgets and just delaying having things. And I think that's a big piece that I'd want to stress. The 2-to-1 ratio I mentioned earlier with the ears and the mouth. Just listening twice as much as they talk. Um, you know, young people need to learn that skill. Um, there was also a quote that I used when I was a young guy growing up. I still think about it all the time. Is a belief system or philosophy is demand more from yourself than anyone else would ever expect from you. And I always had this on my resume. This is always had this. Always shared this in interviews. This is who you're hiring. Um, I demand more from myself than Hari would ever expect from me. I demand more from myself than Scott would ever expect from me. Or, when I was in coaching, the superintendent or the athletic director or the community. Don't worry about it. I got it. I demand more I put more pressure on myself than Hari could put on me. Um, I demand more from myself than anyone else could ever expect from me. And
That's why I
I think,
wanted you.
yeah, I think young people, they need to adopt that. They need to adopt that mentality. They don't need the strongest manager in the world or somebody motivating them every day. Intrinsic motivation is where it needs to happen, not extrinsic motivation. So just being motivated, being persistent, perseverance, all things we've talked about, that work ethic, listening twice as much as you talk. Um, a lot of them also like being the smartest guy in the room. This is not just young guys. This is old guys too. I'm just, I firmly believe don't be the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
Uh, Emotional intelligence. You can be smart. You may have a better idea. Knowing when to be the leader and knowing when to be the follower. Having that emotional intelligence. Sometimes I need to lead and I need to lead every ounce of it. Sometimes I need to just be quiet, shut up and step back and follow. And so I see a lot of people just, and I'm talking about owners,
Yeah.
executives, CEOs, down to they want to be the smartest guy in the room, and I don't think that's a good trait.
Yeah. No,
Don't be the
actually, interesting you say that. I've been on a lot of calls with exactly, CEOs or types like that. And they want to just make that one quote in that call. It's like just to show that they're the smartest. And actually, it comes through, right? It comes through as like, dude, just keep your mouth shut. You're probably smarter by doing that. All right.
exactly,
So,
exactly.
so
Yeah,
it's interesting, super interesting. So, second piece of the question, right? The demand for the industry is that creating, limited qualify. I mean, rather, people with limited qualification moving up
yeah.
higher responsibilities. What's your concern from a health and safety standpoint?
It's a concern, industry wide. It's a concern for Bobcat. It's a concern for Osplund. Uh, it's there. The labor market is a concern, and I don't know that I have the right answer. I know that we need to support all the support pieces that we've talked about previously on this podcast need to be in place for mental health, um, isolation, um, traveling and being on the road. Obviously, financial incentives and financial support can ease some of that burden, but just incentivizing these guys and both financially and mentally, and from a social standpoint, I think could play a part in attracting more guys to the industry. But the labor market is it's hard to get guys to work on the road. We went through the pandemic, right? And everybody learned to work at home. And I didn't, and a lot of people I know didn't, but I know of a lot of people that did. And so getting guys to go work on the road 6 days a week out in West Texas, and they live in the valley, and when they get off on Friday afternoon or Friday evening, they've got a 9-hour drive home,
Yeah, big time.
and then they're expected back to work, possibly Monday. So that means they got a 9-hour drive on Sunday. And I did a little bit of that when I was coaching and transitioning in between jobs, and it's stressful. And it's, you dread going home because you dread going back.
Yeah.
As you're driving home, you're already thinking about the anxiety and the dread of
18
leaving your
hours
family.
on a drive. I mean, honestly, sometimes
Yeah,
it's more than that, depending on where you are in West Texas, where you are in the valley, right?
yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah. It's I don't. We're all tackling that issue right now, trying to come up with. We've had these discussions. We know in order to grow as a company, this is a constraint.
yeah,
The job market, the labor market, um, finding guys, good young guys that are capable or competent or willing to learn, and have a growth and development. But I know this, to get them there, we got to pay them well. Uh, we got to incentivize them, and we've got to provide them some support
yeah,
mentally and socially
yeah. I mean,
to
for all the
help them.
sacrifice people make, it's got to be worth the sacrifice, right? Uh,
Yes.
for the 18-hour drive to go back and see their families, um, it's tough, right? So, it's
Yeah.
interesting. We talked about AI and the demand it creates from a health and safety standpoint. What excites you about the AI era, right? What concerns you about the AI era?
What excites me is a little bit of work we've done and been exposed to by one of our other companies, within Osplund, working on some AI-driven task hazard analysis, JSAs, just job planning things that are AI driven. I've seen a little bit of it. I've just seen a smidgen of it, not enough to be an expert on it, but I think that's where we're headed, because obviously with job planning, task hazard analysis, JSAs, it's about, okay, what are we working on? What's our activity? What's our task? And then identifying the hazards associated with that task, and then mitigating those hazards. And most of the time where we have an issue is we failed to identify a hazard with that task. And if we can identify the hazard, we're going to mitigate it. But most of the time, we just don't identify the hazard. So if the hazard doesn't get identified, then we don't have put a control in place to mitigate it. And then that's when we have the unexpected release of energy, and something gets broken or someone gets hurt. And I see AI, and what I've seen from it, AI has this ability to help lead a foreman through job planning to identify um, task associated with this work, and then the hazards associated with that task, and then the best way to control those
Yeah.
hazards. So that's probably what I'm most excited about. I'm on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm a 0.5 or a 1 on what I know and what I've been exposed to, but I have had some exposure to it. The negative to it, from what I've seen, is thinking skills, writing skills are getting destroyed. Gu- Guys, we just don't have people that are thinking for themselves. They're relying on Google or Gemini or ChatGPT and AI to think for them. Um, I think we should think through it, and if we need help, then we go, to AI and round it all out. But then the writing piece, is where I see the biggest issue especially in health and safety. Um, Folks that just they struggle with writing, and they struggle with composing emails and composing incident reports and composing a plan or a program for certain things. And writing is so critical um, to to being able to communicate informally and formally. And so,
To document your thoughts, honestly, right? It's such an important.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah, and obviously, there's no doubt AI can help people like that, but it also can be a detriment
yeah.
as well because then they never practice that skill and their skill
Yeah.
diminishes.
Write an email to Bryan Erwin. They just copied that. But,
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, it takes me now 2 seconds to figure out if somebody wrote this, they took their time to write this email or if it's
no
just,
doubt. Or
yeah,
we're seeing it now, Harvey. We're seeing it with observations. We're seeing it with incident reports. We're seeing it with um, number of different things. And I've had a couple safety guys say, and I've actually applauded a guy or two for the way this was written. It was well written, well thought out. And I'm pretty sure he did it with AI. And then I'll have a say, he did that with AI. That's, well, at least he put in the thought and the time and he had the care to make it
yeah,
professional and want to do a really, really nice job of the way he presented that. So I'm not against it.
yes.
Um, I think when you always use it 100% of the time, if you use a calculator 100% of the time, instead of using your noggin to add up some numbers and to multiply some numbers, you lose the ability.
100%. Actually, so interesting you say that because, my kids are 10 and 12 and they're kind of really good in math and whatnot. And, one day they were asking me something. I immediately took my engineering calculator right here and did that. And they kind of were looking at each other and laughing because it's simple math.
Yeah,
I had to rely on the
yeah,
calculator to the You're so right about that, right? So, we'll lose it. No, you got to be careful about it. One of the things that I'm actually excited about from a health and safety standpoint about AI is, listen, you guys run a good ship at Astland and Bobcat Power and whatnot. But, in many places, the exact issues we talked about, right? Long hours at work, many days out away from home, working in amongst the elements, difficult conditions, and things like that, it leads to mental health issues, right? But there are also perverse incentives at play in many companies, right? In almost every company, right? You have these guys working, the project manager has to get things going. There might be a bonus tied to getting the project done on time. So, the PM may simply say, hey, just get the job done and then you can take a break, right? Well, that's might be an issue, right? And the health and safety program may not be very strong and things like that, right? So, AI might help nudge, right? It's like different stakeholders within a project kick it out to health and safety personnel, kick it out to PM, kick it out to different people out there. Say, hey, maybe this guy needs a break, right?
mhm,
And maybe in those kind of situations, it can help humanize construction a little bit more. Time will tell. Let's see what happens, right? So,
yeah, yeah. I
uh,
can stick with some forecasting um, forecasting profitability, forecasting work schedules, work to rest ratios, things like that.
yeah, no, absolutely. So, man, we're coming towards the end of the show, right? So, if a camera were to follow you, right? Um, what are the specific things it'll catch you telling your crews, right? From a safety and is a non-negotiable piece, the puzzle at Bobcat Power.
It's got to go back to the first three things that we cover every Wednesday on our win call. It just, I try to keep it simple there with the guys and consistent. It comes down to zero harm. We're going to be preaching zero harm. It's everywhere. It's on our walls. It's on our t-shirts. It's on our win call. It's the conversation we have at the very beginning of new hire orientation. It's a conversation we have at every beginning of every quarterly training. And that's everyone goes home every day with life, limbs, and livelihood. If we can do that, if every one of my guys goes home today with their life and all their limbs, including their eyes, and their livelihood, then we had a great day.
Yeah.
Now we may have hit a foundation and dinged up some concrete. We may have dropped something. Um, we may have bumped into something up in the air on the ground and dinged up a fence or something. That might have happened. And we don't want that. We don't want that to happen. But did anybody lose their life? Did anybody lose their limbs? Did anybody lose their livelihood? And so that's number one. Number two, we have second belief system we have is no one should have to sacrifice their life for their livelihood, because a nation built on the dignity of hard work must provide safe working conditions for its people. And so that's a second belief system and quote that's in our new hire room, in our training room. No one should have to sacrifice their life for their livelihood, because a nation built on the dignity of hard work must provide safe working conditions for its people. And then thirdly, we talk about high energy and how we control high energy. And that's the most important thing, because we look at this thing, the stuff that kills you, and controlling that high energy. And, remember a while ago, we talked about that unexpected release of energy, and what side of this are we on? And so we're always trying to control high energy. We're trying to control struck by. We're trying to control falls. We're trying to control electrical issues. We're trying to control caught in between. We're trying to control motor vehicle accidents. We're trying to control suicides.
Yeah.
Those are the high energy things. In the summertime, heat. Okay. We're trying to control heat, illness.
Which is a big issue.
A huge issue, huge. And we put a lot of work in. That's another show. What we do there with our heat plan. So we have three beliefs on how to control that high energy. Number one, you eliminate it. Eliminate the high energy. Well, we know we very seldom can do that, but we can sometimes. If we've got a hole, we've drilled a hole for a pier foundation, we can cover that hole up until we get ready to, form it up and put an anchor bolt cage in, or a rebar in it, or, whatever. We can cover it up. We cover the hole, that fall hazard is eliminated. But very seldom can we eliminate hazards. So if we can eliminate it, we eliminate it. If we can't, then we build capacity to absorb that released energy. And if we can build capacity to absorb that released energy, then we build that capacity. If we can't, then we thirdly create, and this is where most people stop. They talk about building capacity, build capacity, build capacity. And that's all everybody talks about. We don't stop there. We can't always build capacity. And so if we can't build capacity, then we create space to avoid it. Space always answers the problem. Space is always a solution to hazard exposure. The more space you have away from that hazard and that exposure to that hazard, then you can control the release of that energy from harming, that person. So, obviously, one of the greatest examples you can use for building capacity is a seatbelt or airbags in a vehicle. So we have seatbelts, we have airbags. So that's a tremendous capacity builder when we drive. It's the greatest capacity builder. It's the greatest tool we can have when we drive, is putting on our seatbelt and having airbags.
I'm surprised people don't wear it even today sometimes, right?
I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. It reduces fatalities by 50%. But the other end, okay, then we create space. So if we can create space while we're driving, then now our chances of having a good drive just increased dramatically, right? By creating space between us and that other vehicle. Same thing with any construction activity you want to talk about. Creating space away from an open hole, creating space away from a trencher, creating space away from drop zone. Creating space away from electricity. That's why we have MAD distances, minimum approach distances. That's why we have trigger distances. We create, we have very little capacity to build when it comes to electricity. We can't build capacity to absorb an unexpected release of electricity. So what do we need to do? We need to create space. So those are the three things we utilize to to help us to control high energy. We eliminate. If we can eliminate, we do it. If we can't, we build capacity. If we can't build capacity, we create space. So I would say those three things: zero harm. No one should have sacrificed their life for their livelihood, because the nation built on the dignity of hard work must provide safe work conditions for its people. And then number three, high energy, in those three ways in which we control.
Got it. Got it. Okay. All right. So let me ask you this final question here. You're coach of the UT football team for a year. What would you do?
Ooh, I've got an unlimited NIL budget, of course.
Of course. Yeah, no, you're UT, man. So
I think as they stand right now, we've got Arch. Everyone wanted to call him a flop at the beginning of the year, but he ended up having a great season. He's going to be a tremendous player. Surround him with the very best that you can surround him with. I think we've done that with Cam Coleman and some receivers, and going to get some running backs. Right now, the biggest piece of offensive line, I'm going to go get the very best offensive lineman I can have to establish a running game and to protect him in pass protection. So right now, I'm going to get the very best offensive lineman I can buy.
yeah.
And
Do you
then
think
and then
UT?
defensively, obviously, create as good a defense as we can possibly create.
Yeah. Do you think UT has a shot at the national championship next year?
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll be, top 3 to 5 teams and probably be ranked 1 or 2 again. Of course, that didn't help us this year. We were ranked number 1 this year, but we just weren't ready. I think we got caught a little bit, and Sark felt like maybe he had the offensive lineman in place ready to go, maybe some receivers in place ready to go, and thought that they could develop some of the younger guys that they had instead of going into the portal and getting some proven guys. And that's what cost Texas a little bit this year, was not having the offensive line didn't come through, the receiving core didn't come through. The running backs, we were very, very, very average at running back as well. So we made a mistake. The guys that have hit it out of the ballpark in the portal, like Indiana, Texas Tech, Miami,
Ole
those are
Miss.
Ole Miss, most definitely great. That's a great example. Those are the 4 teams right there that probably have really, really knocked it out of the park in the portal. And look where they are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they got it right. Right. So, honestly, I think the schedule also didn't help UT, right? I mean, first game going in, starting in Ohio State, if I remember right, out there, right?
Yeah.
It's tough,
I went
right?
to that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so coach, give the listeners a pep talk, Coach Erwin pep talk before we end the show, right? What would you say? What will be the pep talk that you'll give?
Wow. There's so much there in the brain,
I need the voice, I need the tone, I need the energy as well.
yeah, I think one of my favorite things would say is, we go in at halftime and it's a tight game. It's nip and tuck. We're down, it's a championship game, and guys, we got to be willing to hurt, like we got to be willing to hurt to win this football game. Are you willing to hurt the way you're willing to hurt to win this football game? So are we willing to pay the price and to sacrifice and to submit ourselves in a servant role as health and safety professionals, and be servants and submit ourselves and kill our pride and kill our flesh? Are we willing to do that enough to be successful? So, it's, that's kind of one of the first things I think of. Hey, guys, are you willing to hurt like you got to hurt to win this football game?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's good. Good. Coach Erwin, Bryan Erwin, obviously, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure to know you so much. And, there's so much material out there. We can do definitely many more shows out there. So
Definitely. Would love to follow up on the mental health.
yes, sir. Thank you so much, Bryan.
Thank you, Ari.